and welcome to another episode of The Talk. No, not that kind of talk. This is pigskin talk. The other talk, you can talk to your parents or whatever about that. But anyways, welcome to another episode of Pigskin Talk, and we got another good episode for you today. I'm Collin Zink, your host, with my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Casey Cox. This week of the NFL has been pretty. It's another good week of the NFL. Let's start with the Battle of the Lone Star. The Cowboys versus the Texans. I mean, I call it the Battle of the Lone Star, but overall, it was a close game. The Cowboys beat the Texans 27-23, and watching the highlights, it was kind of a dogfight a little bit. Um, Dak Prescott went 24 for 39, 284 yards, one touchdown, and two interceptions, compared to Davis Mills, 16 for 21, 175 yards, zero touchdowns, and one interception. Well, Casey, was your heart pumping during that game?
I was actually listening to that game kind of on the road trip, and yes, my heart was definitely pumping. Um, I was sitting there at one point, and we were down like we were, and I'm sitting here going, "This can't be the trap game of the season. Like, it is, but it can't be. We're too good for this." Um, but that game showed me for sure we need another wide receiver. Um,
Yeah.
we needed a T.Y. Hilton. That's why we signed him. Um, James Washington looked rusty. He did. He got to come in, by my understanding, for a few plays, and he dropped balls. Um, he didn't catch them. They hit him in the hands. They were good passes, and he showed clearly he's got some work to do before he becomes a receiver that they can trust and that they can rely on. Um, so that's why they made the move, I believe, to sign T.Y. Hilton. Everybody goes, well, T.Y. hasn't played a snap since, what was it, 2020? Something like that when he played last, maybe 2019. So what are you doing signing a guy like that? But this guy has shown, I mean, he went and he worked out. He showed that he has the talent, he has the skill level. He's ready to put on a jersey and play tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's not pulling the Odell Beckham Jr. where he wants to be signed, but he doesn't want to work out. He doesn't want to put on a jersey. He's even said he doesn't even really want to play this season. I mean, when you're somebody like Jerry Jones with the money and you're looking at who can you sign and who's going to pay off, T.Y. Hilton is definitely going to pay off now because that's going to put somebody on the other side of the ball, I would hope, on the other side of the ball from C.D. Lamb.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb had some good catches in that game. He caught I think a 40-yard bomb by Prescott. Prescott was scrambling out of the pocket, and he just threw it to Lamb, and he caught it. And Tony Pollard had a heck of a circus touchdown when he was toe tapping on the sideline and got in the end zone. So, uh, that corner for the Cowboys, number 7, uh,
Diggs.
yeah, Diggs. He had a heck of a interception or fumble recovery, whatever it was, and it was funny because he went backwards and then he gained like 30 yards going forwards. I was watching the highlights, and the PA announcers, the broadcasters were going, he's going backwards, and wait, now he's going the right way, and he gained like 30 yards on that play. It was to me, looked like a rugby move, but Diggs is a good corner, so that was a great play by him. Um, Ezekiel Elliott led rushing for the Cowboys with 15 carries, 62 yards, and one touchdown. Um, I think Tony Pollard is the next running back for Dallas. Uh, Ezekiel Elliott looks like he had a good game, but if that injury catches up with him again, then it might be the time to trade him and give Pollard the reins at running back.
Well,
Um,
and here's the thing with that too. Um, I've kind of been saying it since midway toward the end, maybe even of last season, where I went and looked. I was a big Ezekiel Elliott fan. I was all about the feed me, feed me. I was all about it when he came to Dallas. He was a hell of a running back. He's had a few injuries. It's set him back. He's slowed down. He's not the Ezekiel Elliott that he was at Ohio State. Tony Pollard has shown that he is the running back of today. He's the running back of tomorrow. He's the running back of the future. He can consistently have good games. He can consistently break off hellacious long runs. And when he gets in the open field, it almost seems like there's nobody in the NFL that can catch him. Um, why not? If if not trade him, and the best thing you could do was trade him. Either trade him for future picks, whether it's this coming draft or the next draft or the draft after, trade him for future picks or even a current pick, and kill a little bit of that cap space so it gives you the room to go out and also sign somebody like an Odell Beckham Jr. If you get rid of an Ezekiel Elliott, then you can pretty much replace Ezekiel Elliott's contract with an Odell Beckham Jr. contract.
Mm-hmm.
And not lose any money and not pay any more money. And actually, you're probably going to pay a little bit less in the long run.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what kind of contract Dallas is going to give Odell Beckham since he doesn't want to play in the season. He just wants to play in the playoffs. Of course, Jerry Jones has the money to do whatever he wants, hence the $295 million upgrade preparing for the 2026 World Cup.
Right.
But um, I'm, if I'm Jerry Jones, I wouldn't give Beckham a massive contract at the start because if Beckham does play in the playoffs, because like I said, he didn't play in the regular season. I mean, he might be a little rusty in the playoffs because he hasn't been playing much. But I'm not Jerry Jones. I'm not the billionaire there.
Yeah. Well,
So
and and by my understanding, the type of contract that Odell Beckham Jr. is looking for what he wants, he's wanting like a 20 million a year contract. So you prorate that for the 3 or 4 games that are left in the season or whatever it is, because you really don't get paid it for the playoffs. You get paid a bonus if you make the playoffs. Those are bonuses. Those aren't guaranteed monies. Like
yeah,
your guaranteed money comes from the season. So with that said, it would break down to like 4 million or 5 million a game. Why are you going to pay somebody 4 million or 5 million a game when they're not going to play?
right.
You're
I'm
going to
just gonna.
pay him 400,000, 500,000. Pay him a $2.5 million contract this season, and then go, when you actually do a workout for us and you actually put on a jersey and show that you're ready to practice and ready to play, then we'll look it up in that contract to that 20 million a year that you want. But until you show us that, you're no better than a $3 million a year rookie contract.
Yeah.
You're
To
coming
me,
off an injury. We don't know what you have. You haven't shown us anything. We're not going to gamble that big money. We'll gamble 3 million a year on you, but we're not going to gamble 20 until you work out and put on our jersey.
yeah, and it's also going to be like how good Dallas is going to be in the future because, I mean, after this past season with the Rams, I've figured out that Odell Beckham's he's a player for himself. He's not a team player. He wants to go to where they're they the team's gonna win a Super Bowl. I mean, who's not? But he's only been on the Rams for one season, and then he's gone, and he's trying to find for that team. So it's just going to depend on how Dallas is going to be at the
Yeah.
near the end of this season and the upcoming seasons.
And it's funny, the later and later into the season this goes and he still doesn't sign, talks are starting to pop up of, could Odell Beckham Jr. end up back with the Rams?
I don't think so because the
I don't I
Rams are.
don't think so, but there have been talks. I mean, I've heard some people whisper it, like, what if? And I'm like, dude, he's a free agent. He's been looking elsewhere. Like, if he wanted to be with the Rams, he would have worked that deal out a long time ago.
Yeah. If not the Cowboys, then maybe the Giants because that's another rumor about him wanting to
Right.
go back to the Giants.
Well, he's been quoted as saying that he feels like him and Saquon didn't get to accomplish everything that they could have together. And so it would be sweet to go back and play with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, and Saquon's a
So
good running back. So I mean,
yeah, he is. And you match that with Odell Beckham, and that on I mean that all of a sudden now you're a Super Bowl caliber team.
but would you keep Daniel Jones at quarterback?
Oof, oof. I don't know. Daniel Jones still has to show me something. He hasn't shown me a whole lot. I mean,
I, he is a better quarterback since they got the new head coach.
yes, he is. He
Yeah,
is.
the
And that's why I'm saying he's still got to show me something. Right now, he's showing me that he's a mediocre quarterback that would still be backup caliber on somebody like, say, the Dallas Cowboys or a Seattle Seahawks when they were dominant, even a Seattle Seahawks today maybe. Um, you name, he'd probably be a backup to Tua Tagovailoa, like
yeah,
in Miami. I mean, let's be honest. The guy hasn't shown that he's got a whole lot of arm talent. He's got pocket presence. He knows the game, and he understands the system that the coach is trying to run. So that helps him. But
yeah,
he's got to show me something. He hasn't shown me any accuracy when it comes to the long 40, 50, 60-yard passes. It's always small 10-yard, 20-yard routes. Anything beyond that, he starts to get a little off and interceptions happen, or, you know, just a little bit high, or, well, that was just a little wide and let him out of bounds, or he's not showing me anything better than, say, a Spencer Sanders in college.
yeah. Speaking of interceptions, the Buccaneers and 49ers game that was not a good day for Tom Brady. I mean, the Buccaneers lost 35-7 after they let the 49ers go on a 35 to nothing run. Uh, Brady had two interceptions in that game, as he went 34 for 55 for 253 yards, and one touchdown. So, I mean, the 49ers defense looked pretty stout in that game. The commentators said they were the number one defense in the league, and I could really definitely see that because when you hold Brady to no points until till late in the third quarter, that says something. Um, Also, Brock Purdy, the quarterback for the Niners, went 16 for 21, 185 yards, and two touchdowns. And he's the first quarterback to beat Tom Brady in their first career start.
Right.
So
And what did I say leading into this game? I said, watch out for that boy, Brock Purdy, because
yeah,
Brock Purdy is going to show you something, and he's going to honestly, if I was the New York Giants, I'd be trying to do something to get Brock Purdy. Honestly,
yeah,
like I need that to be my quarterback of the future because that he went out there. I mean, you just said it. He went out there and he beat Tom Brady.
yeah,
So I mean, not very many quarterbacks can say that. Period, let alone can say they did that in their first start. Like
right,
you beat the goat in the first time you ever stepped onto an NFL field as a starter.
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
boy's talented,
yeah, most definitely. Um,
and on Tom Brady. How about some? I don't know. I think this was the last game that they had, but I don't think we had a chance to actually bring it up. But how about respect that comes from a disrespectful place? Did you see the guy? It was the cornerback or the safety that intercepted the ball from Tom Brady. He was a rookie. He intercepted one of Tom Brady's passes. After the game, he took the ball and he was in an interview and they were talking and Tom Brady goes walking by and he goes, "Hey, were you going to ask Tom Brady to get that ball you intercepted autographed?" And he goes, "Yeah, I hadn't had a chance to ask him yet, but yeah, I was going to."
oh
So
yeah,
kind of he walked over there and he goes, "Hey man, can you sign this ball that I intercepted from you?" And Tom Brady kind of laughed and he signed it and handed it back to him. And it was kind of a, I respect you, I look up to you, will you autograph this ball? But at the same time, it's like, here's this ball I intercepted, will you autograph it for me? Like,
yeah,
it's respect coming from a disrespectful place.
yeah. I've seen that play. Wasn't it Jets player?
I think it was, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I seen that and I just kind of laughed and I'm like, that's just.
I mean, I can understand it. The guy's the GOAT, and you just intercepted a ball off of him, and you're a rookie. So you're like, hey, man, I look up to you. Can you autograph this? But then at the same time, you're like, this is a ball I intercepted that you threw. So this goes badly against you. Can you autograph this so it can be remembered for life?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have
Like,
blamed. I wouldn't
uh,
have blamed Tom Brady if he said, "No, I'm not going to do it. I'll screw you."
yeah, yeah. And even I saw it on, it was like Get Up or something that I saw that on. And I was like, dude, I would not have blamed Tom Brady or called Tom Brady an asshole or a douchebag if he would have looked at him and said, dude, really? You intercepted that ball and you're asking me to intercept it? Or you're asking me to autograph it? Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I remember that. That was pretty funny. And along with the Niners passing game, they had a heck of a day on the ground. McCaffrey had 14 carries for 119 yards and one touchdown. Uh, the Panthers made a big mistake. Like I said in the past, I don't know what the Panthers were thinking, but meanwhile, the 49ers are saying, "Thank you. We'll carry him. He'll carry us into the playoffs."
Yeah, yeah, that was the stupidest thing the Panthers have ever done, but the Panthers have never been known to be that smart. So,
Yeah, hence
I mean,
they
they did hire Ron Rivera, for instance.
yeah, and they waived Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield went on the Rams. 40 hours later, he leads a comeback against the Raiders.
Yeah,
So, yeah, receiving wise, Brandon Ayuk led the way for the 49ers with just 2 receptions and 57 yards. So, with 2 catches, he led the Niners in receiving yardage and 1 touchdown to boot. For the Buccaneers, Rashad White led the day in rushing with 13 carries with 56 yards. Receiving wise, Chris Godwin 5 receptions for 54 yards. Um, uh, you know, after this season, it might be time for Brady to retire. Honestly, of course he wants that one more ring, but the Bucks are 6-7. Um, Brady has all these weapons. Nothing's really go. I mean, things are going right, but um, and the Buccaneers had 8 penalties that game. Um, maybe it's time to follow those rumors where Brady goes to the 49ers for his last career season. Um, but a lot of things just weren't going right for the Bucks in that game. Hence the 35-0 rout, and then finally getting on the board on a tipped pass and tipped touchdown pass in the end zone. Um, but yeah, I was looking at the highlights and I'm like, the Bucks scored in this game. This is a defensive massacre for that the Niners are putting on the Bucks. But the Buccaneers' next game is against the Bengals, so
they should fare a lot better.
yeah. Um,
Should being the key word.
and it's in Tampa Bay, so something
Again,
to
they
get back on
should
their feet.
fare better.
Yeah. Um, another game I have highlighted um, was the Jaguars and Titans. I mean, these are the top two leaders in the AFC South because, let's be honest, the Colts and Texans are doing awful. So, um, the Jaguars beat the Titans 36-22. And I highlighted this game because the Jaguars are kind of on the rise in the playoff rankings. I mean, they're not in the playoffs yet, but they're on the rise.
Do you
Lawrence,
think the Jaguars sneak in?
ooh, oh man, uh, they're definitely my dark horse. They um they definitely might. It's a maybe. It's a maybe. I'll put it there because the Chargers are ahead of them in the 8th spot. but it's a maybe for me. Let's just put it that way. Um, anyways, Lawrence went 30 for 42, 368 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a good day at the office for Lawrence. Travis Etienne, 17 carries, 32 yards, no touchdowns for rushing. And Evan Ingram with 11 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Um, uh, the thing about this game, the Titans lost because of fumbles, I think. 3 fumbles lost. Basically, if there was a turnover, the Jaguars were on top of it. Um, so fumbles hurt them. Meanwhile, in that game, Tannehill went 25 for 38, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Derrick Henry. Now, as I was watching the highlights in this game, there was one play that stood out to me, and it was a 1st and 10, and Derrick Henry was stopped before the line to gain, and then next thing you know, he's carrying the whole defense across the line to gain, gets the first down, and and I'm like, wow. I mean, the dude's a tank. I mean, if it doesn't take 1 or 2 guys, well, get 11 men in there and attempt to stop him, because um, the dude's a tank, and he's gonna, as I said before, he's gonna lead the Titans into the playoffs, and that play just proved it. Even though they lost, Derrick Henry's a beast. Um,
Yes, Derrick Henry has always been a beast, and I think he always will be as long as he's in the NFL and he stays in shape and he doesn't get injured. He's been pretty lucky to not have any real major setback injuries as of yet.
yeah, yeah. Watch out, NFL. Get your defenses ready, because Henry is a monster. Um, and for receiving wise, Austin Hooper for the Titans had 5 receptions for 68 yards and no touchdowns. So he led the day in receiving for the Titans. And uh, you know, I think Trevor Lawrence after this game is going to be a upcoming Pro Bowler, because last season was his first year. This season, he's starting to get on the rise. He also had a rushing touchdown. So Lawrence is not a uh, Lamar Jackson by any means, but if he gets down near the goal line and they need to run the ball, then Lawrence might get in the end zone. Uh, another
I've
game,
always liked Lawrence as a quarterback since he was at Clemson. I liked him.
yeah,
Um, I knew he had talent. He wasn't the most accurate quarterback, but he showed that he knew how to learn a system and knew how to run that system and be confident with it. And I think that in itself plays a big part in the NFL. So
yeah. Um, Lawrence was definitely a great quarterback at Clemson. Um, he won a few national titles with them. Last season, I'm kind of thinking, well, he might be a bust, and this season, maybe not. Maybe not. Um, Another game I have highlighted. It was that Lions and Vikings game where the Vikings were considered the underdogs in Detroit. And me and you were both, kind of laughing like, how are the Vikings underdogs? A ten
no,
and two.
they showed how
Yeah,
they got
yeah,
their asses ran out of Detroit.
yeah. I was watching the highlights and I'm like, the Vikings just got too cocky. They tried to do so much, and it was, they just got too cocky. They tried to run a trick play where the running back hops over the line and throws it to a lineman for a touchdown, but he never got his footing, and he fumbled the ball. They went for it on 4th and 1 early in the game. They didn't get it, so it was stupid stuff like that didn't win the game. Jared Goff went 27 for 39, 330 yards and 3 touchdowns, looking like his early days when he was with the Rams. Um, had 1 carry for Moore for the Lions. He just needed 1 carry to lead them in rushing, and he had 42 yards in that 1 carry. Um, so that tells you how the Lions' rushing game is going.
Yeah, the Lions don't have a rushing game, so that
No,
should honestly be no surprise to anybody.
no, no, they do not. Receiving wise, DJ Chark, I think it says Chark, had 6 receptions for 94 yards and 1 touchdown. For the Vikings, Kirk Cousins won't be wearing the chains home again on that flight because they lost to the Lions. But he went 31 for 41, 425 yards and 2 touchdowns. Um, Dalvin Cook led the day in rushing for the Purple as he went 15 carries for 23 yards and 1 touchdown. And what a surprise! Alshon Jefferson led the day in receiving for the Vikings. 11 receptions, 223 yards, and no touchdowns. The Lions held Alshon Jefferson to no touchdowns. That's impressive. The dude's been on a mission, and when you hold that dude to no touchdowns, especially the game he had against the Bills a couple weeks ago, that's impressive. Um, so yeah, and get this: the Vikings would have clinched the NFC North with that win. All they needed to do was beat the Detroit Lions, and they would have won the NFC North. And the Lions said, "Nope."
And it's losses like that, even though they're not in the same, they're still in the NFC. It's them losses like that that help the Cowboys in the long haul. So
Yeah,
keep them coming, Vikings. Keep them coming. That's all I can say.
yeah, but then again, are the Cowboys going to execute in the wild card round? That's the question. Last season, it was the 49ers that ruined their hopes. But
Well, I think this year if they play the Buccaneers, I think they're in pretty good shape.
oh, most definitely.
Mhm.
Um, the way Brady and the Bucks been playing, I think Dallas could very well beat the Bucks in the playoffs. It
And
won't be like
especially if T.Y. Hilton comes in and does what everybody thinks he's going to do,
yeah,
I believe that that's going to be a lights out ball game, and that's going to end the season for the Bucks.
yeah, and it won't be like the first game of the season for them where they didn't score a touchdown. It's gonna be the Cowboys getting into the end zone very often.
Yes, this is going to be like a 40-3 route, like we saw them do to the Vikings,
Oh, that was awful. That was a yeesh.
or the 54-19 that we saw them do to the Colts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
where the Cowboys decided to show up in the fourth quarter and just annihilate them.
Yeah, 33 points in the fourth quarter. That's all we need.
Yeah. Um yeah. Total yardage wise, it looked decent. The Lions had 464 yards. The Vikings had 416. Both teams averaged 7 yards on the ground, 6 yards on offense. So, uh, yeah. Speaking of the playoff picture, um, nothing really changed. Well, a few things have changed. Um, in the AFC, the Bills and Chiefs are still battling it out for the number one seed, as they're both 10-3. But the difference is the Bills play the Dolphins and the Chiefs play the Texans. So, the Bills and Dolphins, that's gonna be a good game to watch. The Dolphins being I think they're the second team in the AFC East, and the Chiefs play the Texans. That's gonna be a massacre. So
Well, it should be a massacre.
yeah, it should be a massacre. It might be a trap. It could be a trap game for all we know. For the way how Houston dealt with Dallas, it could very
I was
well
gonna
be.
say it was almost a trap game for Dallas this last weekend. So
Yeah, most definitely. The Ravens have the third seed in the AFC, which I guess is not surprising because they're 9-4, and they play the Browns this upcoming week. So and that's gonna be a should be a win for the Ravens, as the Browns have a beat up quarterback. I'm not saying Deshaun Watson is injured. I'm just saying he hasn't played in a while, so that should be a win for the Ravens. The Titans have the fourth seed, surprisingly, since they're 7-6. Uh, the Bengals are the fifth seed. They're at 9-4. I don't know why the NFL has the Titans at the fourth seed with the 7-6 record, but you know I don't think that should be. I don't think should be the fourth seed. If anything, they should be the sixth seed, the Titans. But the Dolphins are the sixth seed at 8-5, and the Patriots right now. The Patriots have the seventh seed at 7-6, and they play the Raiders this upcoming week. So that should be a win for the Patriots. This past week they played the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray got injured in that game. So the
well, now he can go sit at home and play Madden NFL or Call of Duty or whatever
yeah,
it is he likes to play.
yeah. Um, the Cardinal season has been over. Now it's definitely over. It's not going to be a 3 year in a row where the home team hosts their own Super Bowl. So sorry, Arizona. Keep
And I think on the playoff note, I was just thinking about that. I think the NFL needs to redo their playoffs, like the college football is starting to do their playoffs. Do away with this fucking North winner, South winner, East winner, West winner gets 1, 2, 3, and 4, when the winner of that division could be 6-4 or 7-3 or some shit like that, and you have somebody like the Cowboys who are sitting 10 wins into the season and they're coming in a freaking wild card seed because of the division they're in. Like, let's just base this shit off the records, and your top teams are your top teams. Doesn't matter what division it is, you play fucking football.
yeah. Um, I kind of liked how the NFL did their playoffs a couple years ago, where they had the two first round buys. The number one, and number two seed get the first round buys.
Yeah, that would be all right. But
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense to me how a 10-3 team that's only lost 3 games on a season is a wild card, while somebody who's lost 4 or 5, 6 games wins their division and gets a 1 or a 2 or a 3.
yeah,
Like, how does it make sense to me, please, as a football fan? Make that make sense.
right. Um, and the Cowboys are the fifth seed in NFC at 10-3.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, that
Yeah.
don't make no sense.
What makes even less sense is that the Niners are the third seed and they're at 9-4. The Buccaneers are the fourth seed at 6-7.
See, there you go.
Where's
Six
the
wins, six
where's the
wins,
logic
seven
in that?
losses, less than 500, and you're a 4 seed or a 5 seed, and the Cowboys are sitting wild card 6-7. What the? What? How? How?
Right?
How are you less than 500 and you're in front of me in line to go to the Super Bowl? How is your path easier than mine when you have a less than 500 season? Shouldn't your path be harder than mine? I have a
Yeah,
10-3 season. Shouldn't I be rewarded for winning 10 games and only losing 3? How in the hell does it seem right for you to get rewarded for losing 7?
right? Yeah, I was when I was getting ready for the show and I was looking at the playoff standings. I'm looking at the NFL website and I'm like, "Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you guys?"
I mean, honestly, I think that the NFL should adopt a system kind of like the FBS has, and I
Yeah.
think that both the FBS and the NFL need to adopt a playoff system more like what the FCS has in store.
Yeah, well, they have 12 teams.
I don't know exactly how many teams that they have, but they have. I was looking at their bracket, and there was like 3 games on each side of the bracket before they had the championship game, and it put like a 24 in the 1 through 25 rankings. It would put like number 24 versus like number 9 or number 12, and it made it very interesting matchups that would be winnable for either team. Like, and of course, your one would play like, but it wasn't like 24 versus 1 like you would think. Like, they did it because of like your AFC would be broken down into its 4 divisions or whatever. Your NFC would be broken down into like 4 divisions, and then you would have, depending on their records and where they ranked, you would rank the winners of those divisions as you saw fit in that. So somebody who's ranked 24 but won the division, you could win your division, be ranked 24th though, and play a 9 or a 12 seed instead of playing a 1 seed and basically being an auto elimination. You know what I'm saying? Like, you at
Yeah.
least have a ball game that you at least have a shot at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it becomes that any given Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever you want to say, Thursday, Monday for the NFL, Thursday, Sunday, Monday, it could become any given at that point. Like, but they got to do something different. If you ask me, the NFL needs to. Um, this system of 6 and 7 teams making the playoffs. Okay, so you're under 500, and now we're going to put you in the postseason.
Yeah.
While
Um.
there are teams that are above 500 that just because of where they're at and who they play, they're going to be out of the playoffs.
Mhm.
Let's do a rankings. You rank it 1 through 16, and it's based on the record. Like, division winner might automatically get you into the playoffs, but that doesn't mean you're a 1, 2, 3, 4. That might mean you're an 8 or a 9 if you're 7 and 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
While somebody who finished third in their division at 10 and 3 or 11 and 4 or whatever it might be, they might be a 2 or a 3 seed. Like, you could have 1, 2, and 3 out of the same division, like you would this year with it being the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants. Like, that
Yeah.
would basically be 1, 1, 3, and 4 right there.
Yeah. So in the NFC, as of now, all 4 NFC um East teams will be in the playoffs. Because the Eagles already clinched the playoff berth. They're at the number
Right.
1 seed. They're at 12-1. I think they'll stay there because the Vikings just kind of blew their chances at the number 1 seed. But the Commanders are at the 6th seed, 7-5-1, and the Giants are at the 7th seed, also at 7-5-1. So the East and the NFC East could dominate the playoffs space wise. Whereas if are they going to win the Super Bowl? Well, the Eagles have a better chance, but a Cowboys and Eagles NFC Championship game that'll be a good one to watch.
That will be real fun to watch.
Yeah,
And I'm just sitting here as a Cowboys fan, and I'm kind of hoping the Eagles lose one more game because we have the Eagles one more time.
yeah.
And if we can thrash them and hand them a whooping like we think we can and know we can, then all of a sudden the Cowboys could sneak into that one spot.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, the Cowboys put a whooping on the Vikings, so
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
so the Eagles could have been looking at that game and be like, "Dang, we're in trouble if we don't prepare well."
And I hope that's what they were doing because they need to. I mean, because they're going to see us one more time in the regular season for sure, and possibly one more time in the postseason as well. Like,
Yeah,
and you're very well. You've got that now. You're at that record where you could get that big head, and you could end up losing both of those matchups and being out of the playoffs.
yeah. Um, the Eagles, I don't think they're going to lose this week because they play the Bears, and the Bears are already eliminated from the from
Oh yeah,
playoff.
no, yeah,
So
they're not losing to the Bears unless something happens.
yeah, yeah. The Cowboys play the Jaguars. Um, I have, like I said just earlier, Jaguars on my dark horse, but they're not going to beat Dallas. They're just
No, that better after the week that Dallas had against the Texans. That better be another thrash game. Like that better be a 40-3, 35-7, 55-14, something.
yeah. It
Mhm.
better be, but we'll see. Um, the first two teams out of the playoffs for the NFC as of right now are the Seahawks at 7-6 and the Lions at 6-7. And it's Seattle has a test this upcoming week because they play the 49ers. And the Lions, after the game they had, they could very well beat the Jets, which is who they play this upcoming week. So um, a couple things would need to happen for the Lions to make the playoffs, but after starting 1-6, the Lions are looking pretty good for playoff contention. Um, so yeah, theoretically speaking, if the Seahawks lose to the Niners
Yeah,
and
I'm
the
trying to get the
Lions
light.
and the Lions beat the Jets, the Lions can move up to the eighth spot, and the Giants they play the Commanders. That's a divisional game. So, theoretically speaking, the Lions could make it into the playoff contention after this upcoming week. Um, so yeah, the AFC is looking like a pretty well competitive spot for the number one seed. Um, what it was?
Oh, no, I accidentally clicked something.
Oh yeah, you highlighted that comment about Josh Allen. So, um, going into the college world, the transfer portal. I was looking that up earlier, trying to figure out what to say about it, and I found that Spencer Sanders has three colleges narrowed down, and those colleges are Wisconsin, Florida, and Notre Dame. Um, I think he could have a good rest of his college career with Notre Dame because Notre Dame's been ranked and they've been unranked this past season. Um, I think he could fare well at Notre Dame, whereas Wisconsin and Florida, they haven't been. I think they've been ranked. I mean, Florida's definitely been ranked until they lost to Utah earlier in the season. But definitely Florida or Notre Dame would be my best bet for Spencer Sanders.
Right. And I would agree with that. And I'll tell you what, as a Cowboys fan at first, I was kind of sitting there going, just because they enter the portal doesn't mean they're necessarily going to transfer. They
Yeah,
don't have to. A school doesn't have to keep them on scholarship when they say they're entering the portal either, but that player does not necessarily have to transfer. So I was kind of sitting there going, man, I kind of hope he's just exploring his options and then he decides to come back. But then I started doing some digging around and looking at what the Cowboys have in the way of QB power coming in. Okay, you have a returner in Gunnar Gundy coming back. You also have Garrett Rangel coming back. Both are freshmen, both coming back as sophomores. Both, I think, hit red shirt. Gundy may have given up his red shirt this season, but he will likely use it next season. Um, so either way, he'll still get that red shirt season. Rangel used his red shirt this year, so he's coming back with still freshman on his title. Um, they've also got, and I want to get the name right. I want to say it's Zach Torres from Gretna, Nebraska. He is a 5-star or 4-star quarterback recruit out of Gretna. Highly, highly touted, highly recruited, offers from all kinds of schools. He committed early on to Oklahoma State, to come into Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy and his, I want to say it was his QB coach, both traveled to Gretna, Nebraska this past week, visited with Zane again, was like, or Zach, I think, Zane or Zach, whatever his name is, and was like, hey, we just want to make sure that we want to make sure, one, you're still committed, two, that you know, Spencer is hitting the portal. We do have Gunner coming back. We do have Rangel coming back. We will likely look at the portal to bring in another quarterback with experience for their final year or even maybe two. And if you want to explore these other options that you have from these other colleges, you absolutely, by all means, go ahead, go for it. And he said, no, I'm committed to the Cowboys. I've been committed to the Cowboys since day one. Thank all these other schools for their offers, you know. And he said, thank you to all these other schools for their interest and their offers. But I'm interested in building a family culture and a cowboy culture in Stillwater. So he's coming in. He's going to have a good arm. I've watched some of his videos. He's very, very good, very high end quarterback. I think he's more talented than Spencer Sanders, especially after he gets some coaching under him and maybe sits behind a quarterback for a year. And with that, the Cowboys are looking at and also being looked at by the Virginia quarterback that decided for whatever reason that system is no longer fitting him and has decided he wanted to transfer. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards, I believe, each season in his 4 seasons. He's got 1 year left as a grad transfer. And he's looking at Oklahoma State. And it's funny you say this. He's looking at Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, and I believe Nebraska or something like that to transfer to.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
blame that
and
quarterback from
so,
Virginia transferring because of what been happening at Virginia this past year with the school shooting and everything.
right,
Yeah,
right.
but
I kind of see that, but I mean, I hope in a way that didn't play into it because that can happen anywhere.
yeah,
That can happen at Oklahoma State. That can happen at OU. That can happen anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's
yeah,
just the world we live in. Unfortunately, that can happen at any place.
yeah,
Um, I think it's more to do with the system. Just whatever it is over there going on in the system isn't working for him. He doesn't see it fitting his style of play or him fitting what they're trying to do. Maybe they also have some talent coming in as well. But with all this talent coming into Oklahoma State, that they've got returning with Gundy, with Rangel, the Zach guy that's coming in this season from Nebraska as a freshman. Now it's obvious
or
why Sanders left
heck,
because
that
if
senior,
Sanders is dealing with any kind of shoulder injury, then there's very likely a good chance he sits out the whole entire season and doesn't play because we have three other options, if
yeah,
not four.
yeah. I'm kind of wondering how he's going to deal with that if like he sits out for an entire season with that shoulder injury because if if he doesn't get to play and the type of quarterback he's been, I'm kind of wondering if he's gonna, take his time or if he's gonna try to go to another school and transfer again to play for like Matt Rule and for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But um,
Well, he's only got one transfer available to him. He's only got 1 year of eligibility. So wherever he ends up this next season, he'll either play or he won't. But I can guarantee you, whatever school he chooses, he'll choose it because they guarantee him he'll be the starter.
yeah,
At
yeah,
least to start the season, they will say, at least to start the season, to start the first 3 games, you'll be our starter. And then we'll reevaluate.
and going back to that Virginia quarterback, heck, take your chances and maybe go to Colorado and play for Deion Sanders.
Hey,
That
there you go. Hey,
yeah,
maybe Spencer Sanders should go play for Dion.
yeah.
He's already got his son Schroeder Sanders there. It could be the Sanders and Sanders trio.
Right? Yeah. Um, that would be fun.
They could
But
open up a recruit. They could open up a athletic recruiting firm called Sanders and Sanders.
yeah, especially after that scare Deion Sanders put on those Colorado players, basically telling them to transfer. Sanders,
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen somewhere on Facebook where there was this. I mean, remember the Titans video where basically this was Deion Sanders talking to the team, where the new head coach came in and just basically started, telling that player, "Put your hand down." And that,
Yep.
so, yeah, another transfer I was kind of reason have my eyes widened at was Hudson Card, the quarterback out of Texas, because that game he had against Alabama was was a pretty good game. Schools that are interested are TCU, Notre Dame, and Georgia and Kentucky. Now, if I was this kid, if you won a national championship, go to Georgia. But
Yeah. No shit. Right.
yeah, after the
That should
game,
be a no-brainer.
yeah, yeah, after that game you had against Alabama, and you got Georgia interested, go go to the school that was going to give you a ring. And
Right.
yeah, Kentucky is also interested in him, but you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, but but yeah, I don't know how many years Matt Max Duggan has at TCU, but
Huh?
but go to
4
Georgia,
months.
kid. I mean, but yeah, um, this college football world looks interesting. Um, Last week we talked about the bowl games: Kansas and Arkansas, Oklahoma and Florida State, Oklahoma State and Wisconsin. You know what? Now that you think, now that I say it out loud, it's kind of funny how Wisconsin has interest in Spencer Sanders because Oklahoma State is playing Wisconsin. So I don't know if Spencer Sanders is going to play in that game because he's in the transfer portal. But
Right. Wouldn't that be something interesting? I mean, I didn't even think about that. If they're in the transfer portal, can they even technically play?
yeah, I don't know either. That's something to look into, I guess. Um, Another thing that happened in the college football world was the passing of Coach Mike Leach of Mississippi State. Um, it was it's sad for sure, but it turns out that as I was watching all this stuff about him, he's early on in his career he was with Oklahoma. Apparently, he was I don't know what kind of coach he was or what position he was, but he was with Oklahoma, and he was the coach
You're
at
talking about Mike Leach.
Mike Leach.
Leach was the offensive coordinator for Bob Stoops in 1999.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So
He was at OU. He went to Texas Tech. And one of the things I found funny about this guy was that he, at some point at Texas Tech, he was looking for
throw that in the dumpster.
a field goal kicker,
Be careful,
and
the
he
dumpster.
literally picked someone out of the stands from kickoff from a kicking competition at halftime. He sent out an equipment manager out there and got the kid, gave him some pads, basically had him kicking extra points for the Red Raiders. And Mike Leach, I didn't notice this before, but he was also in an episode of Friday Night Lights, uh, that TV series, not the movie. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I- I've enjoyed that guy's interviews too. There was one where the lady asked him about some marriage advice, and Leach went on this marriage advice rant on what on what to do and everything. But my favorite thing about that guy was where he was on this weather channel, and he says, "Well, it looks like there's going to be some pretty bad weather, but you guys are gonna be dead in 100 years anyway, so live dangerously. So
I didn't get to see that at all.
no, I just saw it on Facebook a few minutes before the show started, but yeah, the the guy looked like he would have been a fun guy to talk to, no doubt. Um, there was another interview near the end of a game where we talked about how candy corn's the worst kind of candy at Halloween. But I mean, he looked like a fun guy to talk to, and I can only imagine what practices were like at Mississippi State. But yeah, rest in peace to Mike Leach, and yeah, this is gonna do it for this week's episode of Pigskin Talk. We'll be back on me and Casey Cox. We'll be back on here next Thursday, either at 4:30 or 6:30. So until ne- until next time, remember you don't just talk, you pigskin talk. Thanks for watching.